During the court case, the leadership was in full-blown we need to fight mode. They were fighting for their survival. And my mum, Dina, agreed to speak out against the children of God.
Well, the Daily Mail's revelations yesterday focused on the story of 18-year-old Christina. Christina, first of all, why do you want to speak out about your experiences?
I have an elder sister still in the Children of God, and other brothers and sisters that I haven't seen.
Tell us how prominently sex featured in this cult's activities.
It was very prominent.
And what sort of practices are we talking about here?
Just sexual indecencies, touching, kissing and petting, and sometimes the whole thing.
Well, let's talk to Gideon and Rachel Scott. Can you defend the Children of God?
I cannot comment on this story because I don't know the details. But I do know that I've been in our group for 23 years. I have never once seen any sexual abuse of any child. In fact, the evidence is entirely to the contrary. That our children are happy, well-adjusted, well-brought up, well-educated.
But Gideon, of course, abuse takes many forms. So we have some footage here. Forgive me if I'm somewhat naive. Why would a young girl dance like that naked and be filmed for the purposes of other members to view?
Because we try to take a very natural and open view of nudity.
They were struggling to find young people within the Children of God that they could counteract that testimony. And so they wanted to use me to discredit Christina because I was her sister. I told them I didn't want to testify on the stand, that I wouldn't be able to do that. So I agreed to write an affidavit, and that was all, and to sign it. Because I knew that if I didn't, that I would be shunned, that I would be excommunicated, and that I would be separated from my friends and from my dad. The press conference was set up, media was invited. I felt like I was a pawn in a game. I was being used, and that made me uncomfortable. And I wasn't able to eat, I wasn't able to sleep. I was really struggling to maintain any sense of normality partly because of the tension within me of knowing what I knew, of knowing that Christina was telling the truth.
I have not ever been sexually assaulted. I have never ever been taught to do anything immoral. In fact, I would say I don't even have a boyfriend right now. I'm not married.
It wasn't me, it was the performance of what I needed to give. After that, the ITV crew turned up with Christina.
Is there anywhere we can sit and talk? Sure, the garden outside, it's beautiful. Okay, do you want to come to the garden?
I was being watched, and I knew that the leaders would have an opinion on how I performed. I'd been keeping it together, but I knew that I was headed for a breakdown. I had shut my emotions off. I had to shut my emotions off in order to survive. I didn't feel anything anymore because for so long I had stopped feeling. And by not speaking out and by being there, I was part of the cover-up of everything that had happened and all the hurt that had been caused to so many, including myself.
At that time, I immediately thought, wow, people are like starting to take note of the serious child abuse in the cult that started with the Davidito book. Ricky Rodriguez, Karen Zerbe's son, was sexually abused. In this book that my mother wrote, Berg believed there was no shame in awakening a child's sexuality. And this was his example saying, look, we're introducing our son to sex at a very early age, and it's natural and it's normal. But this book was believed by my mother, by Ricky Rodriguez's mother, and the other adult women in the home. And in writing this book and putting it out to the rest of the cult, this book ruined thousands of children's lives, encouraging children to have sex with each other and encouraging adults to sexually abuse children.
I was 9 years old when they had started to have these orgies. And children were also encouraged to take part. We didn't know that adults shouldn't do these kind of things, that these kind of things are illegal. And they did a lot of shocking behavior.
Every single day we were asked to pray for these people who were taken into custody, or for the court case, or for persecution. I was secretly hoping to be rescued. I wanted to tell the officials what was happening to me. And because the trial in the UK was happening, I didn't doubt that I would be believed. My mother, her partner, Derek Lincoln, I was abused by him from the age of 4. One evening, another teenage girl came to me in my room and said Derek Lincoln had groped her breasts in the kitchen. And I just said, that's not all he does. I was 14 at the time. The next thing you know, the leaders, they interviewed everybody that was involved, and then asks me, why didn't you tell your mum? And I'm thinking, but you all know. Derek Lincoln is asked to leave the commune. And that's it for a little while. There is no care for me. Instead, I'm put on silence restriction, which ends up lasting for 6 months. And the victim is punished. I can only guess this is an attempt to keep things quiet because the court case is still going in the UK.
The grandmother of a 3-year-old boy has failed to persuade the court to remove him from the care of his mother.
A senior judge is under attack tonight after giving permission for a 3-year-old boy to be brought up by his mother in a notorious religious sect with a history of child abuse. Lord Justice Ward accepted assurances from the mother and the leaders of the cult that they had turned their back on the teachings of their late founder.
The second generation, we felt let down. Lord Justice Ward saying that he was satisfied that the sexual abuse had been squished out. Well, what was his evidence for that? Where were the checks and balances?
it was because of Lord Justice Ward that Karen Zerby, the new leader of the Children of God, had to denounce some of David Berg's teachings.
Lord Justice Ward ordered the leaders to write a book called the Charter, which was basically a rule book of family practices. And the rules about sex and age range had to coincide with the law. After the court case, some parents had arranged for younger second generations to leave.
Cult membership was falling to less than 12,000 by the mid-90s.
But my mother was determined not to let me leave. When I was barely 16, I was signed over to another commune in another country, thereby trapping me until I was 18.